Hello and welcome to the CardPresso general training video. We are on the CardPresso website and this is the download section where you can download the latest version for Windows and macOS. In our editions table, we have all our features and from which license edition they're available. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can also see the minimum system requirements. In our contacts section, we have all our phone numbers, email addresses, and Skype accounts. So let's install the CardPresso application. First, right-click on the installer and click on Run as Administrator. Then you select the language that you want to use. Click on Next. Install for all users. Click on Next. Next again. Do not delete the wizard as it might be necessary later. Click on Finish. Accept the license agreement terms, and automatically a shortcut should be created in the desktop and the application should be loaded into the welcome view. The CardPresso welcome view contains some quick access buttons. For example, the first one is divided by 3, where you can create your own project in 3 different ways. The first way is through a card assistant, where you need to select the type of card that you will be using, the orientation is the same, whether or not you would like to add a background to it, or some custom items, barcode, text, image, and based on what you define, it will load a layout with a random disposition of your items. You can switch the display of them, set it to portrait if necessary, and it will load a blank card that you can then design from scratch. The second button, you can open an existing project, which will be loaded into the design view. The third button allows you to open the same projects in production mode, which is a mode that hides the design view, only allowing the user to visualize a database view. The fourth button allows you to activate a user's login system where you can set different groups of users and permissions. It can also allow you to audit the software actions from specific users, such as printing actions, open and closing projects, and you can export this information as well to an external file, such as one of these listed. In our top menus, we have CP about CardPresso, where we can check the license number, license edition, and software version. Clear config will reset the configurations from the software to their default as it was installed initially. The CardPresso license menu allows you to upgrade your license and also install the net license service or look for an active one. The printer drivers is a list of all the printer entries you have installed in the system, and it allows you to change its configuration if necessary. However, the default ones should be working. In the bottom left, you have a list of all the supported printers in the current version. In this option, you can change the language of the software, and each time that you do one change, you need to reload the software in order to apply that. The close button will close the project. The print option, where you can select what printer you're going to use. The advanced options will access to its driver settings. And the X button on the right will load the settings that are default in the system in general. In here you have the print operations that you want to send on the next job. On the left side you have the print range and copies configuration. These options will be different if there's a database connected to your project. If I have a database connected, you can see that there's a database selection option. You can print from a range of records. The starting one, the currently positioned, the last one, all records, and a custom range. In here you have an example of how to customize the range of records. Then you have the conditional print, where you can define a database condition that will state what records will be printed, for example. Last but not least, you have the selected records in Browse View. In this case, you will have to go to our database view, table view, and select which records you would like to print. Moving to the Settings tab, you can define the paper size, And these lists will always come out from the driver of the selected printer. The orientation of the layout. In the right side, you have some options that you can change regarding our rendering settings, the magnetic macros if your printer uses them, the rotation and flip options. And in here, the overlay and varnish is used for the overlay and ultraviolet printing. At last, the advanced print operations. You can choose to update print status from a field after a record is printed. You can input a custom value, or you can choose for one of our existing macros to either update it with a status, counter, or date value. The auto print option allows you to set up a system where when a new database record is entered in the table, you can automatically print it. In case there's no database entry that's new to the table, no action will be done. It actually has some options here to configure, like a database filter, the interval of seconds in which the query will refresh, and the selected printed that you can force, a few other options. And you can export these as a batch file, can then run it outside of our interface. In the document settings option, you're allowed to see what is the size of the file, where it's located, what date it was created and last changed, what type of model, and you can also define a protection for the design and production modes, where you could only access to both using the correct credentials. By clicking on the exit option, it entirely closes the software. In the edit menu, you're allowed to undo and redo changes. You can cut, copy, paste, delete, duplicate, and select all items. You can send them to the front, send to the back, export as an image file. You can set an image to be a background. You can edit the current background. And you can also feed an image to the size of the layout. In the View menu, you're allowed to switch between the card front, card back, database, and encode views. You can hide the object properties on the right side, and you can also change some display options from the software. For example, if you disable the snap to grid option, it will allow you to move the items more precisely, pixel by pixel, instead of millimeter by millimeter due to the grid. In the tool menu, you should be able to find all the options that you have available on the left toolbar. In the database menu, you're allowed to connect your project to a database. In this example, we're going to use the CardPresso internal database, a Microsoft Access with 15 record examples. As we click on Next, we need to select the table that we're going to connect. Then we need to select all the columns that will be part of this connection. After that, we need to specify the guide column, which automatically should be the primary key from your table that you've defined previously on your database source. Last but not least, you can choose what will be the field that will order the entire table. In this case, we're going to use employee ID. We hit finish and the connection should be established. And once we do it, we're able to have more options such as import that will allow you to import database contents from an external file into the connected table. We can disconnect the current database. We can refresh its connection. We can go to the first record, previous, next, last. We can insert or delete one. We can save all the record changes. Additionally, you can go to the properties from this connection. A few options are more used than others, but for example, you can change the autosave option, the keep database position after print, or refresh the connection after print. You can go to the columns tab to access to the object property values from each connected field. In the window menu, you can switch between views from encoding to database to the design, to the welcome view, and to the user's view. Through the last menu, you can also access to our embedded manual for more information regarding our software. In the top toolbar, you can create a new project, open an existing one, save the current one, or close it. You can also access to the print menu. You can switch between the front and back design views, database, or encoding view. You can zoom in the layout or zoom out of it. You can connect the database, disconnect it, import from another table to the current one. You can refresh the connection, navigate through the records, you can add or delete a record, and you can save all record changes. In the left toolbar, you have available all type of items, from figures to text, barcode, and image. Starting with the text, you can insert a keyboard input, counter, or date, in which you have to click on it. When you see the A+ sign on the layout, click it and drag it until it forms the size that you want. Selecting the item, on the right side you will have some property tabs. You can right-click on them and dispose them in a different way. Each type of item has specific tabs, and some others that are equal to all other types of item. The Item tab allows you to check the ID from the item, and some other options such as protect the movement, set it to not be printed, change its opacity. You can change its position, shape, alignment, rotation, can create an outline of any color, fill of any color, the font, where you can change the font family, point size, color, you can use bold, italic, underlining effects, you can render the text as HTML to use HTML code, among other operations. Then you have the source tab, where you can change the source of the item, whether you would like it to be a print counter, print date, keyboard input. You can link it to a database field, and you can link it to another item as well. You can always concatenate information. You can insert a data prefix, suffix, and you can make them merely informative if you ignore them. You can concatenate multiple columns, and you can also add a field separator to them. The Script tab allows you to customize the item through some scripting. For example, you can try to manually run it, or you can just execute the operation that's stated on the script event. For example, if I double click on the item, it changes to what I've defined. As for the barcodes, you can add a 1D, QR, or 2D barcode. Although the rest of the tabs are the same as a text item, you should have a specific tab for the barcode type. In the first option, you can choose the type of barcode that you want to use, the color of the barcode, how you want to display the human readable, and you can activate any available check digit for the type of barcode that you're using. The source options from the barcode items are exactly the same as the text items. As for the images, you can add one from a system folder, photo editor, a camera source, or connect it to an existing database photo field. You can also add it from a signature acquisition or fingerprint. Image items also have a specific tab where you can set the fit image options depending with your needs, flip it horizontally, provide a grayscale, monochrome, or negative effect. You can also work with the chroma key where it removes the colors that you don't want to use. Now, there are different sources for the image items. You can choose to open an image from your system, camera device, signature pad, a fingerprint device, a photo editor, a database image field, or a link to another item. If you have it configured to acquire new images from a camera device, a live acquisition window should be prompted. Also, if you have the Open Image Editor option set to yes, you should be able to use our photo editor to change any aspect of your acquired image. As you click on the Save Changes, the image should be loaded into the layout. If you have it set to be acquired from a signature pad, you might have to configure the size of your signature screen. After doing that, the acquisition from a signature should be prompted. As you type in the desired signature and click on Accept, it should load the image of that signature to the layout. As for the fingerprint acquisition, it should work in the exact same way as the signatures. At last, the figure items have a specific tab where you can choose the type of figure that you want to use as well as its color. If you keep all the items unselected, you will have access to the general property tabs. You can select the background, you can use clip arts, you can use our multiple layouts feature, in which you can use database conditions to automatically define what layout to be selected. For example, This record contains cells in the position field, so it will use layout 1. If we switch to another record which does not contain cells in the position, it will switch to the layout 2 automatically. This is while navigating through the records and also through the print jobs. Through the Database tab, you can access to all the fields in the connection. You can change their contents for each record. You can also drag and drop any information that you would like to display on the layout, as it will automatically generate an item for that purpose. Additionally, you can change the configuration from your connected fields. If we select a date type field, we can go to its options, change its date format, for example. You can also configure a text field as an indexed image connection. If you go to its options, you need to define the target folder containing all those images and all their valid extensions as well. And you can add them like this. You should also be able to automatically name the newly acquired photos through the default image name option. If you set it to database column, you can choose one or more database fields that will automatically name these photos. For example, I'm merging the unique ID with the first name and I'm adding an underscore sign as a field separator. As I click on OK, you should be able to see a preview of what name the acquired image would be for the first record. You can also define how you would like to capture the new images that will then be saved into that folder. After configuring the indexed image field, you must refresh the connection in order to load the applied changes. The Database Filter tab allows you to filter the records that you want to show in the connection. So using a condition where position does not contain sales, it will simply load the records that respect that condition, hiding the remaining ones. If we click on Reset, filter will be disabled and all records will be displayed again. The database find will search for all records in the table, one by one, until it finds the previous or next entry that respects the defined condition. There's also a General Script tab, and in this case you cannot use the current item command, as you don't have one selected, so you must specify the exact ID from the same. As you click on the Run button, the script will equally be executed. Moving to the card back, the only aspect that changes is if you have a magnetic layout model, in which you have magnetic track items. The only option that is different from all the other items is the encode option to define whether you want to encode it always, never encode it, or only when there's information on it. Regarding the source options from the magnetic track items, they are exactly the same as the barcode and text. Through the database view, you can hide or display the database logo, access to the database properties, or you can switch back and forth between the design view and production mode. On its interface, you have the single record edit view. You also have a table view where you can see the entire list of records. You should also be able to select the desired entry through a mouse click. On the right side, you have access to the print preview, database filter, and database find property tabs. In our encoding view, we have the Wizards tab, which is only applicable for MyFair Classic and Desfire cards. If we choose the Read Contactless Card UID and Log It option, and define what will be the format of the read UID, the required script will be generated automatically in the encode script, which will be prompted immediately. In order to manually test the script, we need to move a card to the contactless position from the printer, and we use our printer tools to do it. Through the Spring Card PCSC diagnostic tool, we can verify when a card has been placed correctly in the encoder, and once we have that confirmation, we can click on the bottom right play button in order to manually execute the script. If the result on the bottom is true or undefined, it means that no errors were returned during the entire script execution. You can also check the Output tab for any logged results. While on this view, you also have access to the print preview, database, database filter, database find, and script tabs. Besides the demonstrated features, we also have a feature called Web Print Server. It is mostly used on cases where there's a computer that does not have direct access to a printer, so it sends an XML request to another computer that has the printer present, where the job will be executed. For more information on this feature, any of the demonstrated, or small features that weren't even displayed in this training, please do not hesitate to contact us, as we might have some documentation for the same. Thank you for watching this video.